What's up, you guys? How are you all today? So first of all, I want to thank you all for being such a nice audience, and I hope that you guys will be waiting for this long-term waited video about debt-free education in United States and the types of fundings which are available here. Type of the funding which is available in the United States is the government-based funding here. And as far as the government-based funding, especially for international students, one of the famous one is the Fulbright scholarship, which is even available for students from Pakistan, India, and other students. So Fulbright is like overall a very famous government-based funding for international students. Number second, especially for Pakistani student, is like Herbert Humphrey Scholarship Program is like one of the most prestigious ones, and they're highly competitive. Let me tell you, they're very competitive. And as far as the other, the second most important thing is like the non-government funding for the international students. So I'm also going to tell you in a while that what sort of non-government funding are available here. Now, the other very commonly asked question is that what is the difference between TA-ship, RA-ship, and GRA-ship? Well, let me clarify. Whenever you talk about TA-ship, it means teaching assistantship. And whenever you talk about RA-ship, it means research assistantship. So the GRA is similar as that of the RA-ship. There's not a big difference. It's a graduate research assistantship. And what it does is actually, if you look at your financial aid letter, or if you see your general calculations, you'll figure it out that both of these fellowships will cover your tuition fees. So that in return of your tuition and fees, you're providing services. For example, you're able to take your classes as well as you're going to provide your service as a teacher by taking certain classes and by doing certain grading. This is called teaching assistant. Okay, you're going to help sometimes a professor as well. So you are basically gaining a teaching experience. It's a learning experience that you can learn how to teach American students, or in general the American environment of teaching. Now, when we talk about the research assistantship, then National Science Foundation is like one of the most famous over here, which provide most of the grants. So if you're able to observe like a professor is having certain sort of funding and a very nice project that you're interested in, and you file an application, meet a professor, show him or send him an email and introduce yourself with a good resume and stuff, and that professor hires you and see the skill set matches with their requirement, then you are hired as a research assistant. And now your job is not only to do research, but also later on to work in the lab, and also you're in the future going to write a paper, a thesis, and stuff like that. Also, you have to take your own classes, and in return of doing the research as your service, your tuition and fees are getting paid off. But remember, again, your logistic, your living, and your books, they are not covered most of the time, so you have to be very careful about that. You have to be careful that you have to have an idea how you're supposed to take care of them as well. Now, in the GRA-ship, it's like one of the most exclusive one. It's like for most of the times the PhD students are able to avail it. It's just like an RA-ship. It's just a different title as far as my knowledge. But most of the times, Gs are considered to be just like certain fellowships, that most of the highly prestigious researchers get it. There is a very thin line between RA-ship and GRA-ships. They're mostly very similar. It's just a different designation in different universities as far as my knowledge. Maybe I'm wrong. But most of the time, PhD students are able to get those positions. But if you're a very highly skilled master's student, a research student, then you can also get it in your master's degree. So don't get disappointed. So that is it for guys, the difference between TA-ship, RA-ship, and GRA-ship. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. Fourth most important funding availability is the partial grants or the partial waiverships. When it comes to partial grants, these are like 50-50. Like some of the universities think that you're good enough, so they can provide you 50% TA or 50% RA, or most of the times they will just say that we will just waive off 50% of your tuition. Remember, in the United States, there's nothing 100% free. When it comes to scholarship, it means most of the times they're providing you waiver for your tuition. It doesn't mean that they're providing each and every benefit like your housing, your food, everything. You have to take care of that as well. I will go into a bit, depth about this as well. So you also have to consider those things, that most of the time the housing or the accommodation and the food, you have to pay for yourself most of the times. But there are certain ways I will tell you that how you can take care of that too. So next, there is another way. Sometimes there are company-based projects, and it's very common in the United States that international students find certain projects where companies assign those students, and sometimes they're sent from their country and by certain companies, and the companies want those people to gain certain specific skills. And once those people learn those skills from the US, they also not only gain the research or the practical education experience, but once they go back to the country, they're bringing all of that experience back to that company. So that company is paying off their tuition as well. This has been also one of the most common one that I've seen here, that students from different country. I do remember one of my friends from Malaysia. She won a scholarship like that, and her tuition was paid off by her government, and she was working in a company, and that company was paying for her tuition and everything, most of her stuff. Then now when it comes to take care of your living and housing, there is a very famous scholarship which is called a resident assistant or resident advisor, and normally the scholarship is provided to undergrad students who normally have a good CGPA, around about 2.6. I mean, not very high, but a good CGPA, and they're responsible students. It depends on university to university requirement, and those students must have lived a semester or two in order to avail that sort of funding. So this sort of scholarship is called as resident assistant scholarship. And why I really like this one, because that way you can live in the dorm for free. So this is a very nice one, and I would really appreciate for undergrad students to definitely avail it, and it's valid both for international students as well as for American students. So guys, the best time to apply for any grant or for a TA and RA-ship within the United States is that you should apply for the fall session. Well, during the fall session, mostly the TA-ships and the RA-ships are getting allotted. So if you're interested in any of those positions, then you should start preparing only for fall session. People are lucky they're even able to find certain position in spring session, but the best time to avail these opportunities is to apply in the fall session. Especially for international students, that's the best time for them to apply and to will this opportunity. So don't miss out on this opportunity. Also, if you like my content, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye.